All right, y'all. So earlier, a few days ago, I covered the police murder of Patrick Lyoya, an immigrant to this country who was shot and killed, murdered by a policeman for following instructions. In the video, the policeman asks him to retrieve his license. He goes to retrieve the license, and then the cop just starts tackling him, trying to beat the shit out of him. Patrick attempts to run, is unsuccessful, murdered, shot dead in the back of the head. Since that occurred, the case has been getting a lot more national media attention. This happened in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so I want to show some Twitter videos of protesting. This is found on Byron Tollefson's Twitter account. This is a local news person. You can follow them if you'd like. I'm sure that there's other, people on the ground covering this. But over the last couple of days, there have been straight protests, very loud, very energetic, and very high crowds tuning into Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, recently, over the last couple of days, they released the body camera footage, which once again shows Patrick being asked to retrieve his license. He then goes around to the glove department, or, he goes around the car to the passenger seat, aiming to get into the glove department to get his license, which is in the car. The cop decides to tackle him for no reason, and as we can see, a lot of people are upset by that. Now, again, it needs to be understood the context of what's going on. 3 people per day get murdered by police in this country. There are over 1,000 police murders in this country every year. That amounts to about 3 people per day. Now, 98% of police murders result in the cops not getting charged. Not even getting charged. Now, again, if you're a motherfucker who thinks, oh, cops justified killing that black man. Kill him, shot him dead. Good cop, yeah. Wouldn't you want them to prove their innocence in a court of law? Right? I mean, all the courts, all the judges are stacked in their favor as it is, right? Just for the sake of argument, right? Just to be fair, wouldn't you want them to go actually defend themselves in court to explain why they had to murder a black man who was running away from them? But 98% of the time, cops don't even get charged. They never ever have to in any way explain why they felt the need to shoot someone in the back of the head. It's never explained. They never have the opportunity to. Maybe they'll say, oh, I felt, my safety is under threat. And maybe, that's it. Why? Because they don't need to. 98% of the time, they get away with it. So as you can see, there's a lot of videos over the course of April 15th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. As we can see here, the protests are continuing. I am not at this moment I'm not sure if there's national solidarity demonstrations in other cities, either in Michigan or across the country. I'm not sure. And maybe I should look into that as well. But in Grand Rapids, Michigan, there are a lot of people every day protesting downtown, making their voices known. But once again, has anything changed? I mean, we saw George Floyd. We saw what happened when George Floyd died. The whole country, the whole world decided for once to fight back against police. Did anything change? Yes, things did change. For the worse. Cops now have more money. Joe Biden, president, has increased police budgets nationwide. Right? So cops now have more money than ever before. Right? And cops are now, since 2020, what they view every protester as is a dangerous criminal who needs to be either arrested, shot, maimed in any capacity. They have weird war trauma from a completely made up event in their minds where, they're the good guys fighting back against the animals of civilization, right? So police, again, since George Floyd has been murdered, they have been more violent, more openly abusive of protesters and journalists since that moment. Now, again, Derek Chauvin was sentenced to prison, but as I said, 98% of the time, cops don't get charged. So the only reason why Derek Chauvin was sentenced at all was to convince a certain group of people, probably the white liberals, the white moderates, who think, oh, there's a little something called justice in this country. Right? That's the only reason Derek Chauvin was sacrificed. Because 98% of the time, they still get away with it. Derek Chauvin was sentenced in 2021. George Floyd was murdered in 2020. 98% of police murders in 2021 had no charges. Of the remaining 2%, I believe it's less than a total percent that actually got any convictions. It's like 0.2% of the time that there's any actual conviction. So most of the time when they do get charged, they're found innocent. Right? But again, in this country, no one cares. No one gives a shit. As you can see, people have been demonstrating in April, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, since the police murder, and continuing all the way through April 16th. And as you can see, you can just check this person's feed. And they're posting videos there. I'm sure that there's other places and people you could follow. I'm going to continue trying to look for people, that aren't necessarily linked to corporate news. But there you go. It's important to see that people are doing stuff about this. But again, is anything going to change? Let's be honest. Is anything going to change? What we're learning here, the lessons that we're learning, is that what happened in 2020 made things worse. Right? So marching in the streets, does it do anything other than raise awareness? If the goal of protesting is to raise awareness, to make more people vote for more left-wing politicians, okay, but we're not going to see any results of that for at least another 30 years. Let's be honest. It's going to take a long time to convince Gen X and boomers, especially the white liberal, and especially the conservatives, they're too far gone, but the white liberal, white moderate, Gen X and boomer demographic, they're not going to defund the police. They're just not. There's no amount of convincing, because to them, police are protecting them from the animals, right? The only strategy is that I can see in order to achieve the goal of defunding the police is either wait 20 to 30 years until the generational tide shift, or do mass demonstrations in different ways, in different formats that do not sputter out like we saw in 2020 without gains. Protesting stopped in 2020. There were no gains made. And then all the people in power said, oh, finally people calm down. Now let's increase police funding. So, my opinion, what we need to do is we need to make sure that people understand what cops are. They are an oppressive, occupying force. It's that simple. In the same way that, you look at Nazis in Germany in the 1930s, in my opinion, you should be looking at police in this country in this moment in history the same way. They're an occupying force. They do not belong here. They're an aberration. They're an inhumane aberration. And so we need to continue informing people of this, circulating these stories. And protesting is good. I'm not saying don't protest. I think people need to protest as much as you possibly can. Push the boundaries as much as you can where you live. Stay safe while doing so, of course. But again, we're not going to be seeing any results unless we get more people on the team, or we're just going to have to wait a while. And that sucks. 1,000 people get murdered by cops every year. Murdered. That is to say their lives are ended. How many people get paralyzed by cops per year? These stats are harder to find. Because typically when people die, in some ways police are forced to report it. A lot of the times when police abuse people, they don't report it. It goes unreported. Right? Maybe someone will tell the news and the news will be like, yeah, okay, a cop hit you? Because you're black? Sure. Sure they did, buddy. Okay. And they just ignore it. It's harder to get databases for statistics for when police abuse their power in other ways. Maybe they don't have to paralyze someone. Maybe they just hurt someone really badly. Or maybe they just waste their time, send them to jail as they're on their way to work. They didn't violate any laws. They claim right? That they were speeding, but there's no evidence of that. It's their word versus the other person's word, right? And then they get in trouble with their job and so on and so forth, right? So cops just harass the shit out of minorities all the time, even without inflicting any physical pain or damage or murdering them. And that is, again, another problem. So the 1,000 people that get murdered by police every year, that's just one, that is the most extreme angle of all of the problems with policing in this country. And again, I don't know how to fix it. If I knew how to fix it, I would tell you. I don't. My best guess is that we got to keep convincing people that cops are bad. They're actually not here to protect us. We're going to have to wait an unknown amount of time before the Gen X white moderates and boomers die off. And we're going to have to change our tactics a little bit. We're going to have to protest in more strategic, targeted ways. And then also not quit early. Not to say that people quit, not to, put any, I'm just saying, right, what was gained in 2020? There was a lot of protest, a lot of resistance in 2020. But what was gained? Think about what accomplishment was made for all the blood, sweat, and tears and lives that were lost in the 2020 uprising. We're worse off now than we ever have been. That's just a fact. So, I don't know. But anyway, that's a larger discussion. Obviously, the police in this instance murdered Patrick Lyoya, shot him in the back of the head for no reason as he was fleeing from them over, an incorrect license plate. Now, again, if Patrick Lyoya had nuclear weapons at his house and if he was running back to go press the button to kill all of humanity, maybe then, in that narrow instance, in that fantasy world, maybe shooting them in the back of the head, I could maybe listen to that story. Anything less than that, and there's no reason to. If you really feel the need to pursue any sort of charges against him, he'll pop up. He's not going to, run away and disappear over a license plate. So, again, it's ridiculous, and people are letting their voices be known, which is good. And 100% uncritical solidarity with protesters in Grand Rapids.